Aquí voy andando en mi camino, abriéndome a la rosa de los vientos. 2017, I was in med school. I really wanted to go to the mountains. So my partner in that moment, he came up with this idea. He told me that there are 3 mountains that are like the most iconic ones in Bolivia and that you can run up and down them with like mountaineering techniques, but like it's doable. So I decided to ask my brother, Tom, to join me on this adventure, and he was very stoked to do so. My brother lived in Glicontamin, near Chamonix. Before going to Bolivia, my brother and Nino, his best friend, they went up to acclimatize to Refuge du Royer, and they spent a couple of nights there, and on the way down, my brother had an accident and he fell off a couloir and he passed away. That was like a week before we were flying to Bolivia. He was 19, so I feel like he was just starting to do all the stuff that he was like going to be brilliant at. He was studying like environmental sciences and he had so many ideas and cool stuff to, you know, be of service to the earth. And he was running so much and ski mountaineering and climbing, and like we had a lot of things to still do together. He had such a deep, authentic, like huge laugh. Like really, I don't remember him being angry. That's something that he has really taught me. You don't find many people like that. I went to France for his funeral, and talking with Nino, we decided to still come to Bolivia. Instead of doing Huayna, Illimani, and Sajama, we just spent a lot of time in Huayna and in La Paz. It was really heartbreaking. Well, I feel like throughout these years, I have, like, you always have 2 options, right? Like either you deal with stuff or stuff deals with you. How can we heal from this? In Mexico, we have a lot of indigenous knowledge that like really for me has been like the path that has helped me heal in a lot of different ways. And it's that connection to earth again. Like I feel like it always comes back to that. And a lot of different indigenous tribes around the world share that like health is connection to nature, community, nurturing, like eating well, and spirituality. I started nurturing all those 4 areas. And I would add like physical stuff, you know, like we are in a body. So I started running a lot. When I started racing in Europe and getting to meet all these amazing athletes that I had admired for so long, it was like super exciting. I felt like a kid after Christmas, you know. I had also recently broken up with the partner that had the idea to coming to Bolivia. So I felt like for me, it was like, I really want to like have closure, you know, of these things. But I needed a partner. And then I met Hillary, and she's just so full of life. So that's why I asked her if she wanted to come on this trip with me, because I think she's an amazing human being, and I was very excited to share that with her.
Karina Carsolio is the next generation of mountain runner. She and I have a lot in common, even though I am many years her senior. She asked me if I would join her on the trip. It was definitely not something I could say no to.
These 3 weeks in Bolivia, what we want to achieve is to set the FKT, so fastest known time, up and down Huayna Potosí, Illimani, and Sajama, 3 most iconic peaks in Bolivia.
first mountain that we went to was Huayna Potosi, and is actually the only one of the 3 summits that had an existing fastest known time on it.
Our idea was to just go acclimatize, to see what's the route like. We ended up setting an FKT.
Huayna Potosi is a popular mountain to climb. It doesn't present a lot of technical difficulties. It's glacier travel for sure, and you need to know how to move safely on glaciated terrain. It was interesting to talk to Karina, though, about the route because she had done it in 2017. From the pictures that she showed me, from everything that she told me, it's changed a lot since then, and the glaciers have really retreated. It's a different mountain.
2017, the glacier was like very thick, and there was a lot more snow and ice, and now like everything was just like disappearing, so it's steeper.
It's a little more technical than it was before. Some areas where there's unstable rock, where the glacier has pulled back, or a lot more crevasses and seracs. The conditions were great for what we were doing, but I think that you probably can't go as fast as you used to be able to go, and the mountain is changing a lot. First section, that's all rock, a little scramble to get up to high camp, and then you're on the glacier. But because it's such a popular climb, there's a really clear track, no real navigation questions. It was obvious where you needed to be going.
And then you get to the summit, which is beautiful. You have the west face of the Huayna Potosi on your left, and then you see like the whole Cordillera Real, Titicaca, Illimani, Sajama. Like, we had a beautiful day. We got to the top in 2:36, all the way down on 3:46. For me, moving fast in the mountains is like, the less gear I have to have, the lighter I am. It's like the closest I am to my own abilities. Like, I'm not relying so much on the external, but on myself. And moving fast in the mountains is a way of doing that. My dad does not understand why would I want to go the normal, easy route up a mountain and risk my life so much just because I want to go light. I just move fast in easy routes. Like, it's 2 different approaches. There's not right or wrong, they're just different.
Todo y así, pues con mucha humildad también, pidiendo mucho permiso para presentarme.
In some ways, I almost feel like I haven't in the last 3 weeks met a Karina that I didn't already know, because Karina is someone who wears her heart on her sleeve.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? That was so good.
She is not someone who puts up a facade. She shows you pretty immediately who she is. Karina is someone who is an incredible athlete. You know, she's hardworking, she's motivated, but then she has this entire other side of her that's really empathetic and spiritual, motivated by protecting the environment and getting in touch with her roots and understanding what's going on in the world.
Pido perdón a todos los seres que lastimo con eso.
She really likes to combine science and spirituality, connecting new knowledge and old knowledge in something that's really uniquely hers.
My relationship to Earth has been a relationship of re-acknowledging and remembering that I am not something separate from nature. I think that's something the indigenous tribes in my hometown and all around the world know, but us as people that have grown In an Occidental kind of lifestyle, we have forgotten that we are nature, and we've been taught that nature is something like a resource to be exploited and not like a home. I am so lucky to live in a country that indigenous roots are so deep. Communities that have taught me to honor my actions in this earth, to walk in a more coherent way. For me, spirituality is not like some religious practice. It's like a language that we are just remembering how to speak. It's a language without sounds, it's a language without verbs. It's just a language that it's in the subtle of everything, in the subtlety of everything. And I feel like for me, when I'm in the mountains and I have to be so present, I can understand that language because it's like my brain turned off. This Occidental brain that has been taught to buy, to be, just turns off, and I can understand the language of nature. And for me, that's spirituality, being able to listen. That's also science. Science is about being curious. And to be curious, you need to be able to be humble. You can't make discoveries and you can't learn without being humble enough to know that there's so much to learn about everything around you. Sajama is a volcano that it's in the Altiplano Boliviano. Conditions are really harsh because you have a lot of wind. There's no mountain to stop the wind. We had a weather window. There were a couple of days where the wind was not as strong, so we decided to go to Sajama.
Sajama is also famous for its penitentes, so these ice stalagmites that form, especially in high winds, and especially during this season. They get bigger and bigger. They can get over a meter tall.
The night before leaving for Sajama, Hillary got really sick. She had a stomach virus. Next morning, she woke up and she was not Hillary.
In my head, I was like, I have to get better. Like, I need to get better, and we need to get to the summit on this day. Like, it's just not really negotiable.
It was very hard mentally and emotionally for her. And she didn't get better.
The point that I definitely hit my physical and emotional low. So essentially at that point, I had to take a step back and remind myself, why did I come here? What am I here to do? I'm going to do whatever I can to try to support Karina.
I was scared, honestly, to do it by myself. I was scared of the ice. Scared because I have a lot of respect for it. I really wanted to go with Hillary. This security, seeing somebody else in front of me moving. So we decided that she would start an hour and a half earlier and meet me at the technical part to do the technical part together.
3 days of barely eating anything at all just left my batteries and my energy availability just completely empty. I went up to about 5,700 meters. Karina came up behind us. She was moving like a rocket, so strong. You know, we kind of boosted her up, but then at that point I had to say I'm here at high camp for you, but I can't go up higher. You're gonna have to do it on your own. She took it in stride and took off on her way up the mountain.
As soon as we got to the first, they call it the Pequeña Pala, which is a 55% incline. It was all ice and penitentes, and I had no clue how to walk on these things. I was moving so slowly. Okay, take it easy, you'll get to the ridge, the rock ridge, and rock ridge is your safe spot. You know how to move on rocks really well. And as soon as I got there, I slipped a little bit and I saw that all the rocks had this tiny layer of ice. And there was this little part where I had to do a little jump to get on the other rocks, and it was ice. And I saw down and I saw the cliff. And I still have like more than half the ridge to do, all of the glacier with penitentes and ice and the downhill. Also had a couple of dreams of falling in Sajama, so I decided to go back.
Y no sabía después qué seguía, ¿sabes? Y dije, oh, sé que el glaciar es pura penitente, esto me va a tomar horas, horas.
The way that she talked about it afterward was extremely hard emotional moment. Really think incredibly directly about her own mortality.
Es más fácil pensar en lo que yo quiero y yo quiero llegar a esa cumbre, yo quiero bajar ese tiempo y yo quiero hacer esto, pero como que la verdad es que mi vida va muchísimo más allá de mí misma. Sé que todos nos vamos a morir, pero no me gustaría ponerme en una situación en la que sé que yo estoy como siendo cómplice de eso.
I think that a lot of us go into the mountains kind of like thinking that we're invincible, and definitely on Sajama, Karina was not thinking that she was invincible. She had already lived the grief and challenges of losing someone really close to her and seeing the impact on her family.
Sajama, if you want to do it fast, you have to do it with good mountain conditions, and that's not right now in July.
Vengo aquí a callar un poquito la voz de mi ego y de mi mente que todo quiere comprender, analizar, completar y dejarme maravillar por el misterio.
Well, for me, the ritual is kind of like a moment where you go back. You have to like connect, because it's so easy to get in the rhythm of doing things that you just forget the importance of taking a moment to listen to that language I was talking about. Before eating, I take just a couple of seconds to thank the earth for everything that she has given us, for all the hands that have made this food like happen in front of me. Like, well, a lot of people do, but it's so easy to forget to be grateful for everything. We just take it for granted. And I feel it's a little bit like that for me with rituals before going into the mountains. Mountains are something that open their doors for you to come and learn something. It's like a moment to acknowledge that I'm entering somebody's home. I'm entering the home of so many creatures, and I'm entering this sacred place that produces water, that makes clouds build around herself. Mountains are so abundant in their sharing. If I have something to learn about mountains, is that if you don't share something, you don't exist. For me, asking permission to enter those sacred areas is like telling them hi, you know, like I'm coming here.
Me presento ante ti, Apu. Hola.
For me, those rituals bring me back to that, bring me back to the intention of why am I doing this? I don't want to just do it because of a number. I want to connect with a deeper part of me that is looking for something.
Pues mis recuerdos están en los cabellos, dicen los abuelos.
Condores de alas libres, busco alegrías y menos llantos. Eyo wana heyana hey neyo, eyo wana hey neyo.
Right after we arrived in La Paz, we made really quick connections thanks to our friends Topo and Carla. We had met a German climber who'd been here for a while and really wanted to go to Illimani, Dominic, and so he came with us and offered to lend a hand.
Illimani, I was so excited about that mountain. Like, you see it when you get to the airport, you see it all the time from La Paz. It's a very sacred mountain for the Aymara people.
By the time we got back from Sajama, like, I was finally like kind of feeling like I wanted to eat again. Definitely a positive thing for me. You know, we essentially had like one day to do all our laundry and pack our bags and be ready to go again.
So apparently on this trip, one of us has to be sick constantly.
Illimani Base Camp, Karina and I shared a tent, and I can say that it was not a great night. Karina was sick and we weren't really sleeping a lot, but we got up, around 5:30. We left base camp probably around 7:15, and Karina really wasn't feeling great, and we kind of agreed that we were gonna try to set steady but not blistering pace up the mountain.
We made it to high camp in an hour and 20, something like this. I was cold, I was not focused. I was a little bit worried because I knew the technical part was coming up and I needed to be fully focused. And I wasn't able to eat or drink, I was just nauseous. Dominic had all of our glacier kit there at the glacier, so we got dressed up for the glacier and we started going. The first part is easy, you just have to navigate through crevasses.
The glacier was pretty icy. For the conditions that existed, we were just on the edge of appropriate gear, given how icy it really was.
And then you get to this very annoying part that's ice and penitentes, and you have some seracs in front. After that, there's this 30% incline going up to the Escalera al Cielo. Dom was supposed to be there with the fixed rope, but we got there before him. And then you get to the top after that very steep part, and it's a little flat section, and you have to climb up the crevasse.
Climbing up, we only had one axe, but climbing straight up faces, and then we got up onto the final ridge.
And as soon as we got to the ridge, the wind was horrible. Hillary had to go on all fours.
It was just this incredible world up there, but so cold and so harsh. We had on all of our layers and had to, turn around and head back down the mountain pretty quickly. Karina and I both said to one another as we were about to head down the summit, this is where it begins. We need to be really, really heads up about safety, because coming down those super steep, icy sections where you cannot fall, incredibly important to be full concentration.
Energy-wise, I was drained. To be completely honest, I need a lot more ice time with crampons, but also I couldn't get this image of my head that the way my brother died was honestly, it was a stupid accident. He slipped on ice with crampons. Fuck, I just had my dad's voice in my head, 10 points, 10 points. I was moving so slowly because I was trying to get all the time 10 points. And Hillary was tick, 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 just moving down so fast, and I was kicking ice. I was so tired.
In some ways, I think that we would kind of given up on setting a good time on the descent after the challenges of coming down through that really icy section and penitentes. So we were taking some pictures. We got to high camp and we took our time. We traded socks. And then once we were in our regular kit, we said, okay, now let's just finish this thing, and had actually a really nice run down the ridge.
Fortunately, I moved well, on the downhills, so I was still going fastish, and we got to the bottom, up and down in 7:26.
Thank you for being so patient. Not at all. We're back safe.
Reconocer al miedo como un maestro y un aliado para la supervivencia, pero que no me habite. La paciencia, la serenidad para transitar los momentos de tensión desde la calma, no desde el miedo.
One of the things that I observed about Karina across this trip is that she's an incredibly thoughtful and mindful person. Most of the things that she does, she really approaches with intention. Whether it's setting up her altar and making an offering to the mountains every time before she goes, and really thinking about what is she there to do and who is she there for, and remembering Tom at every one of those occasions. And then every time when we get back from the mountains, the first people she wants to talk to are her family members. And I can tell that there's these really strong bonds that exist between her and her family.
For me, a good way of honoring those different closures, like my brother's death and my breakup, was like going to those mountains, offering to her like whatever it's in my heart to offer.
There was this poem that Tom really, really liked. What will I do when I leave this earth? It's not in vain that we come to walk upon this beautiful place. So what will I leave behind? Let's leave at least songs, let's leave at least flowers.
Ninis guaponit lalipan, tines cayoto tiu sochime, tines cayoto tiu crescame, memorias del pasado, que dejaré cuando me vaya, que dejaré sobre esta tierra, que hará mi corazón. No es en vano que venimos a vivir en esta tierra. Dejemos al menos flores, dejemos al menos cantos. Ea, 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 ea.